Welcome, everyone, to a Monday night edition, December 8th edition of the Crash the Palm podcast. I am joined once again by good friend Patrick Present of the Hockey News. So thanks again for joining me, Patrick. It's been fun getting in a groove. I feel like we're building the chemistry here. We're line mates now working together, and we're vibing off each other a bit.
Right. I feel like there was an adjustment period, but now we're learning the system. And now we're starting to see the benefits and
Yeah, I'm going to throw a wrench at you right now and just going to subject you to criticism from anyone that plays hockey because everyone has opinions on this type of stuff. What is your favorite hockey equipment brand?
I'm a Bauer guy.
Ooh.
I grew up Easton.
Okay.
But yeah, all my stuff is Bauer, I think.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
I don't know why. Bauer I go for on sticks.
Yeah.
But I have never... I had Bauer Supremes at one point. I've always thought Vapors look fantastic, but my foot just never fits into them. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I just always stray away from Bauer for everything else. Like I have CCM skates. Actually, no, I have a Warrior stick now. Warrior gloves. I don't know. I feel like Bauer is like the big brand where I've like tried to like stay away from it as a result.
Oh, okay. Just because of your feet?
I guess. I don't know. Oh, well, this is what is my controversial take is my favorite skates of all time are the Makos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Those.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I grew up in Graphs.
Okay.
Like that was because they were just so comfortable when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But then like technology started just surpassing it by a lot. And but then because Graphs are so like your foot is facing down a lot.
Okay.
I couldn't adjust back to a Bauer or any other skate for the longest time until I had like maybe in my early 20s. No, that's not. Yeah, maybe my early 20s. Then I started going to Bauer because I just had to at a certain point. Then they're so much lighter and like Graphs would get heavy at the end of the game because they're just wet. Like it was tough.
Yeah. I went to Makos. I forget why I even tried them on, but for whatever reason, like fit my foot well. That was where I started the bad habit of not wearing socks in my skates.
Oh, no.
And I have not been able to knock it. I now have CCM skates. Still, I wore them with socks on the other day, and my feet hurt. I can't do it. Like for whatever reason, how they're molded, how the size is, like it's just adding a sock just makes them painful. But those Makos were the hardest and most difficult things ever to get into. But once your foot was in it, the way that it was shaped, it was great. It was great for my average horrible beer league level of hockey, but I loved them. So sorry for the little hockey gear talk, everyone, but I thought that would be a fun way to kick off this show. I know that you've played hockey at so many different levels, and everyone has their opinions on gear.
Yeah, definitely Bauer for me. It just always felt right. I tried other stuff, and I don't know, just never felt right.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and their sticks are definitely, I think, the lightest in the industry from when I was playing more regularly. All right, so that's enough gear talk. So let's jump into these games. So for everyone out there, we're kind of going to do the same thing as we did last time. Do a little bit more high level review of these games. Weird week for the Ducks where they went from having a horrible performance to a solid to one of the best of all time performances. So going to be interesting, and then we'll get into the good, bad, and open ice. Before I forget, though, I almost forgot once again to mention this. This would have been the second week in a row that we would have started a game. But Victory Plus is running their fun game, the $10 million streak, or if you get 10 in a row, you can win up to $10 million, or you can win $10 million. If you get a streak of 2, you can start winning prizes. And I don't think any of us have gotten any right so far. Because I'm looking at, I know I didn't, I know Felix didn't. I'm looking at yours.
I don't think
Utah,
so.
Utah, no one scored. Washington, it was, I think Beckett Seneca scored, and then it was Vetrano against the Blackhawks. So, God, I'm looking at my sheet right now, and Felix has modified it and put Max Comtois as my pick against the Penguins. And I legit almost just said it. I think I'm trying to remember who I had here. All right, here we go. Against Pittsburgh Penguins, I'm picking Troy Terry. Felix is picking Beckett Seneca. Who are you going to pick?
Beckett Seneca.
Okay. Against the New York Islanders, I am picking Leo Carlsson. Felix is picking Olin Zellweger. Who are you going to pick?
Beckett Seneca against Matthew Schaefer. I think that'd be fun.
Ooh, I like that. All right. Then they're going to be playing the Devils, and we're going to go up until the 16th because they do a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back, so we're probably not going to record until next Wednesday would be my guess. So New Jersey Devils, I'm going Cutter Gauthier. Felix going on a limb and saying Ian Moore. Guess that's assuming he's playing. Who do you want?
Jackson Lacombe, please.
All right. And then the next night against the New York Rangers, I am going to go back-to-back with Cutter Gauthier. Felix is stealing your pick from the Devils game and going Jackson Lacombe. Who would you like?
We're not going to go Kreider or Trouba with this one? Okay, I'm going to go Kreider.
There you go. I didn't even think about that. Honestly, I'm just going the back-to-back Gauthier, but Kreider is a good pick. Columbus Blue Jackets, I'm going to Beckett Seneca. Felix's pick, this is where he picked Jacob Trouba for some reason, but sure. Who do you want?
We'll go Carlson in the Carlson v. Fantilli collision.
I like the narrative streak that you have been taking with this. It's fun. Way better than me just thinking about players that are going to score goals and trying to go that route. It's more fun going the way that you are, so I respect it.
Yeah, the random route wasn't really working for me, so we're going to put a little bit of some narrative on it and see what happens.
Yeah. Probably better that way. All right, so let's jump into the game. So we're going to start with the Utah game. What was your high-level takeaway from this game?
Okay, so obviously the score leaves a lot to be desired. But I feel like, I don't know if it felt this way for you, but watching the game, if you had just like gotten rid of the score bug and would just like go in and out and not really watch the goals, but like just watch the gameplay, it's fairly even in my opinion. Like just game flow, eye test, that kind of stuff. I felt very even, back and forth chances. I thought what I would have liked to see the Ducks do more is have some offensive zone time a little bit more. I think it felt a lot like one and dones, and Utah would break out really quickly. And then obviously it was like just the huge breakdowns that, you know, were relentless, that we've consistently talked about, that have really plagued the team, and then just an inability to outscore their problems or score at all, obviously. And, you know, Husso wasn't Lucas Dostal. So I think you kind of combine all those things together, and, you know, the Ducks couldn't buy a goal, and it ends up 7-0 on the scoreboard. But I feel like if I think they deserved to obviously lose the game, but in a normal circumstance, that felt more like a 4-2 game, 4-1 game, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I think that final thing is spot on. I'm kind of looking back through kind of what I wrote about this game from my analytics article that I actually wrote this one right after that game, just to, while it was fresh in my mind. I think you're probably right on there. I think more so what you said about kind of a back and forth game with both teams getting their chances, that kind of felt more so like the second period to me more so. I thought the Ducks were more dangerous in that period. The first period was a weird one where I thought they actually had more of the puck in this one, or in that period specifically, but it felt like they weren't able to really generate a ton, and then they just made some horrible mistakes that led to Utah getting glorious chances against. Realistically, Utah probably should not have had so many goals in that portion of the game, but the Ducks gave up those chances, and kind of we talked about it in previous weeks, but without Lucas Dostal, like, if you're giving up these high quality of looks, like Ville Husso is potentially just going to give up more goals than an average goalie would in those situations if he's getting peppered with these high quality looks. And to me, that is kind of what this game was, is the Ducks didn't play a horrible game. It wasn't to the tune of a 7-0 game, but this was not a good game for them either. And I think that this was one that I think there were a lot of things that needed to get fixed coming off of this game, especially with Ville Husso going to be starting in more games.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for any of the goals. Maybe the third one, I think, because I think that came from high in the zone and that wasn't really screened, and he beat him short side, I believe.
What was that, the Ian Cole goal?
I think so, yeah. The one from the perimeter. Mm-hmm. But like, you know, Zellweger leaves the net front on that one, the first goal, and Trouba misses a pinch in the second one, and just like those things kind of just build on top of each other and snowball, and before you know it, you need a desperate second period. And I should say that word desperate, like Utah needed a win here, and it felt like it. Like they were super opportunistic and really diligent, smart in their own zone. Yep.
And on your point, I don't think you necessarily blame Husso, but I think that that's also like the Ducks have been giving up these chances, and I think they need a goalie that can clean those up. And this is just kind of what happens when you don't have a great goalie in net, is that they are not going to be able to clean up those looks. And it's a goalie that might not be blamed, but that's still not necessarily good enough for the number of chances that the Ducks were giving up in this game. If that was I think a weird way of me phrasing it, but I hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it, that Dostal needs to paper over a lot of issues in their own zone, and I think Huso just can't, and he's just not at that level.
Yep. All right, want to jump into the Capitals game?
I do want to jump into the Capitals game.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so this one, I think the Capitals came out and played Capitals hockey. Like, they were controlling most of the play early, I thought. They're one of the better teams in the league, and one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest right now. They came in winning like 6 in a row or something. And they kind of performed like a well-oiled machine. And I will say especially early, but I think that this time the Ducks did better to counter and to kind of, they still had a little bit of issues, especially on rebounds and after extended cycles and things like that. But for the most part, I thought their breakouts were a little bit better. They were able to lock down their end at points. And, the Caps are one of the most like high shot volume teams in the NHL, and the Ducks held them to 20 shots in regulation. So I think that's something to say. And, like I said before, the ability to battle through every goal, like just to answer every time, I think is pretty big.
Yeah. Like I think this was a game where the Ducks lost the 5-on-5 expected goal share battle in this one from to a tune of 2.94 expected goals from the Capitals to 2.53 for the Ducks at 5-on-5. From the game flow side, you're spot on. Early on, the Caps really dominated play. The Ducks in the first period did not generate a ton. They got a little bit of their footing when they were able to score one goal off of that. The second period was where they really got their chances. Jackson Lacombe had the most dangerous look from an analytics perspective. That was the one that was right between the power plays, where he ends up entering the zone right as the power play is expiring, goes in, draws a penalty, and gets a glorious chance off of that. But the Ducks did a good job in this one in the third period. I thought the first two were a little bit rough. The Ducks got some of their chances, but they got hit from the Capitals, essentially capitalizing on the extended zone time off the mistakes from the Ducks. The interesting thing for me is the third period, where the Ducks did a really good job of being in a tie game against the Caps are the 6th best 5-on-5 team in the league, 3rd best offensive team in the league, and they just really limited the Capitals from getting absolutely anything. Now, granted, the Ducks didn't really generate a ton on their own in that third period, but for a team that just coming off a 7-0 loss that struggled defensively heavily against the Mammoth, like, this was a game where that third period that they had, I think, was really encouraging from a long-term perspective, that they were able to kind of shut down this high-powered offensive team in a tie game. And to me, that was my biggest takeaway. And so I think that this game overall, from my side of it, and looking at kind of the numbers, not their best game that they've had, but the Caps are a really good team, and I would consider this more so like a solid performance. Getting to overtime was probably a just result. Maybe the Ducks were slightly fortunate to get there, but I think overall that is probably what this should have ended up at.
Yeah, I think I would agree. And this was the game. This was the Trouba hit game. Yep. You want to get into that a little bit?
Let's do it. What are your thoughts on that? I don't think I've actually seen your thoughts on it. I've put mine in Discord a bit, but I've kind of kept it. I've learned my lesson to not put my hit thoughts on Twitter, because
correct.
Sometimes my thoughts are not what a lot of people like. And so, yeah, what were your thoughts on this hit overall?
Well, I just think we have to realize that a lot of people are attracted to this sport because they like big hits and they like the physical nature of the game. And I don't know if we're not ever going to get rid of it, but I just think that we have to recognize that people do enjoy that aspect of the sport. Sure. That said, like per the rule, I think it's a clean hit, and the refs did a good job to review it thoroughly and make the right call, calling the 5-minute major initially, so they could review it was a good move by them.
Oh, they did call the 5-minute major.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because I feel like they, maybe I'm misremembering, maybe I was fast forwarding, but I feel like they may have gone to commercial. Okay, and so I feel like that was not put on the broadcast. I could be completely wrong. people let me know from. So I didn't know that they actually called the 5-minute major and reviewed it, but you were in the building, so you would definitely know better. Than I was. So that's interesting. But that is the right call for them to do, also.
Yeah. But yeah, per the letter of the law, I think it's a clean hit. It kind of rubbed me a little bit the wrong way, just because Leonard felt so defenseless in that situation. And I know Carberry offered his thoughts. The Capitals coach Spencer Carberry offered his thoughts and basically said that, like, you know, he was hunting a little bit. He didn't use the term like intend to injure, but he kind of insinuated that as basically saying that he saw a guy getting checked by another guy, Olin Zellweger, and he kind of took advantage of him in a vulnerable spot, which I agree and disagree with. I agree in that, you know, he is looking behind him, and when Trouba decides to make the hit, he did have his back turned at the time. And I disagree in that I don't think he was really engaged with Zellweger. He had kind of blown past him and then tried to like make a backhand, you know, behind the back pass to the front of the net and just missed. And then Trouba just got him as he was turning. The one thing I do want to say is that I think I would like this called more like a unnecessary roughness call in the NFL, defenseless receiver, things like that, if that makes any sense.
I mean, I think almost like boarding, like that's kind of what I equate it to in some ways with boarding, is that you really kind of, you take out the concept of putting themselves in a bad position, because that's one thing people kind of say with these hips of hit is putting themselves in that position by essentially with Ryan Leonard in this one. Sorry to jump in on this, but I think in a equating situation is that people are saying that by admiring his pass and looking behind him, he's put himself into that vulnerable spot instead of having his head forward where maybe he can avoid it. But it's very similar, I think, to a board where some people will say that guys turn their back to players now to be able to draw that call, but it is still the onus goes on the hitter in that situation to pull up and not make that hit. And so because it is a defenseless position. And so I think that you kind of can equate that to this of even though he's admiring his pass, he is in a defenseless position because of that.
Yes. And that's the thing that kind of just, I wanted to touch on most, is that the defenseless part, because I don't like, big hits are fine, but no one wants to see a young star player. He got like 4 points in the game before against San Jose, and he was just, you know, getting used to the NHL, it seemed like, and really making an impact. And to see him now out indefinitely, and he was seen in like a sling in the next game, and he's going to be out for however long. No one wants to see that to their star players, and if it happens to, you know, a bigger star and a more established star than that really sucks. And I think that's the issue with these huge hits, in my opinion. So yeah, I
agree 100%. We're gonna get probably some feedback on this, which is fine. It is what it is. Like I put this in our Discord, but this is kind of my stance on this hit overall. And this is, I think a lot of people have to ask the question to themselves of how much, from an injury perspective, from a violence perspective, or from all of that, are you kind of comfortable with these guys sustaining injuries for kind of our enjoyment pleasure? And everyone is gonna have a different answer to that, and that's completely okay. From my personal perspective, what I don't like about that hit, because what you started off with is, I'm not saying that this is a legal hit. I agree completely with you. By the letter of the law, this is a completely legal hit. He does make head contact, but that is largely due to the fact that head contact was unavoidable for him to make a full body check. Like, he checks through the shoulder, he has his, and kind of the whiplash causes the shoulder to end up going into the head, and just kind of that's what ends up happening. But having said that, there is still head contact there. And yes, it sounds like that if he's in a sling and shoulder injury, there's also, I think he was bleeding from the head. I think there was a nose injury. And so from my perspective, I view it from this side of it of, I don't want to see these guys have brain damage for my enjoyment. And if there's something that can be done to really keep these hits where the head is getting hit, because if you freeze frame it, there is a hit frame where you can see his head is clearly getting hit by the shoulder of Trouba. And Trouba has made these hits many times. And that's not to say that any of those hits were illegal either. But I think the rule has to change for at least my side of it, that if you make head contact, that's a penalty. It's just that straight up. And if it elevates to a point where the guy's hurt, then it's going to be a major or suspension or things like that. And people are going to say that's going to take hitting out of the game, but there are plenty of big hits that don't have any head contact with it. And these players are going to end up learning. They're going to go through it. We saw it with the last round of the major rule enforcement and changes, where guys either made the change or they were out of the league, a la Matt Cook, a la Rafi Torres. Like, you either adjust or you don't, or you're left behind. And so I think that's been what I wanted to see long term, is just essentially you make head contact, it's a penalty. It's just that simple. And I think you're spot on that I think he's also in a defenseless position. I think that's something that should be considered. It's also interesting that at one point in time, blindside was in the rule book, and that's been taken out. I don't think this is really a blindside hit, but it's close to it because he's not looking at him. It's in the range of it. So I'd almost like to see that come back in. And to people in the chat, kind of, neither of us are saying this is not a clean hit. Like, per the letter of the law now, this is a clean hit. That is what it is. That is what the rules are. I think it's a more global discussion that Patrick and I are having right now about, well, what should be a clean hit?
Yeah.
Or what should be a legal hit? What shouldn't be a legal hit? Should the rules be adjusted so that this type of hit is illegal? Are we, either of us, comfortable with this? Everyone out there is going to have a different opinion. Patrick, you and I both agree that kind of this type of hit is not necessarily something you or I are big fans of in the game. I think the way I view hitting is that at the beginning of everything, hitting was made to change possession. It wasn't meant to enforce physical, inflict pain. Inflict anything like that. Like, and at some point, I think Jeff Merrick says this, in the 80s that all changed. And the game has kind of changed back to going to where hitting is about separating the man from the puck. You still have some guys hitting to cause violence, but also with what we've seen, with what we know about head contact, about CTE, about everything like that, like it, I think it's a global discussion about kind of, all right, what is the purpose of this hit? And should we get back to kind of that original purpose?
And this isn't an indictment on Trouba, because, speaking to him after, he was very calm and like cerebral with his response. And he knows the line. He didn't cross the line. But if the line adjusts, he'll adjust with it.
Yeah.
And Tom Wilson's adjusted as well. And Tom Wilson in the same game, he had some thoughts on the hit as well. But it's and it's nothing against Trouba. Ryan Leonard is a player who is gonna probably be, just by the way he plays, going to be on the receiving end of some the giving end of some borderline hits as well, just because he's a guy that can play on the edge and get under guys' skin as well, and plays hair on fire hockey. But yeah, it
didn't sit right for you, right?
It just didn't, just because I don't like seeing star players that I was enjoying watching Ryan Leonard in that game flying up and down the ice, and then I just didn't get to the rest of the game. Yeah. So it just didn't rub me the right way. But again, clean hit by the letter of the law, and we're just playing within the rules that we're given.
What'd you make of the overtime shootout goal, or no goal, by Carlson? Because I'm assuming I was late on that because I was watching a bit delayed, but that seemed a bit controversial to some people.
That was the right call. It's difficult though, like, because they called it a second push, I believe. Like, he hit the puck twice, or he shot twice. But it's tough to even see if his blade left the puck at all. It was just like two jabs almost. Yeah. But I agree with the call. I think, he did push the puck in. Yeah. He did push the pad back via the puck, via his stick, kind of. I mean, so I think it's the right call.
Yeah, I think the puck left his stick, hits the pad, and then he touches it again before it crosses the line. I don't think intentional, but I think it's funny if he doesn't touch it. I think that's a goal. And maybe so it's because I think the puck still goes in if he doesn't touch it again. It was just kind of one of those weird situations with that. Yeah. But all right, let's do this. Let's have a quick word.
Just thanks for having that conversation. It just was something
Hey, just for your sake right now, this podcast is about just having these talks. Whatever you want to talk about with different things, I'm game. I'm here for it, and let's have some fun with it. But all right, but before we move on, let's have a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of Crash the Pond is sponsored by BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/crashthepond. We talk a lot about the numbers on the show, the stats, the trends, all the data that helps explain the game. But the mental side of hockey is just as important, even if it doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. And the same goes for life outside the rink. Therapy can be a huge help with that. When I went through a rough stretch in my own life, talking to therapists helped me see things differently and learn better ways to cope. It's a space where you can work through stress or tough emotions, gain perspective, and start building healthier habits. And it's not just for people in crisis. Therapy is really a tool for personal growth and self-understanding. BetterHelp makes getting started easy. It's an online platform that connects you with a licensed therapist and includes tools like journaling and daily group sessions. Just fill out a short questionnaire and get matched in as little as a couple of days. And if the first therapist isn't the right fit, you can switch anytime. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform people trust. Plus, BetterHelp accepts HSA and FSA cards, so you can use your benefits before they expire. If you're thinking about therapy, go to betterhelp.com/crashthepond or choose Crash the Pond during signup to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/crashthepond because taking care of your mental game matters everywhere, not just on the ice. And this episode's also brought to you by NordVPN. So go check out NordVPN. It's easy to use, one of the fastest VPNs out there. If you're a sports fan, which if you're listening to this, you are definitely a sports fan, you can safely access your favorite streams and other content from home no matter where you go. Easily switch your virtual location to access apps and websites in other countries and get access to social media and other services not available due to potential censorship. NordVPN also has 87,000 plus servers across 129 different countries. You can change your virtual location easily. It's also extremely easy to use. You can connect with one click or enable auto connect for zero click protection. So you can get an exclusive NordVPN deal. Go to nordvpn.com/CTP. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link will be in the episode description. So one quick thing I want to mention now that we moved on from that, Throlax in our YouTube chat brought up that comment about the head contact. World Rugby implemented similar things 5 years ago. Similar things were said, basically that you're taking out hitting, that type of stuff, but all the players adjusted. They thought it couldn't be done, but came down super hard in the first couple of years. Mandatory red cards that cost big games, but tackling and ruck techniques changed. Game is in a much better place now. They've relaxed the rules a little bit as players have gotten better. Happy medium has been found. All the players agree it's in a much better place. So, I mean, that's kind of exactly, I think, what we're talking about here is like, how do you adjust the rules to make it a bit safer for the players? There are going to be injuries. There's going to be collisions. It's just, that's what happens when you're going fast. But what can you do to protect these players in a bit of a better way?
Yeah, and the game is more skilled than it's ever been. And I feel
faster
like
also.
Yeah, the people paying for tickets, like they want to see the Leo Carlsons and Connor Bedards. They, big hits are going to happen, but if a big hit knocks one of those players out of the game or out of a season, then that sucks, and I just don't want to see that.
Yep. All right. Let's move on to the fun game. We had a lot of talk. This is one that everyone probably wants to hear. Ducks 7, Blackhawks 1. Go.
This was domination from the puck drop. Like, I felt so bad for Arvid Soderblom. Like, he had faced 36 shots halfway through the game, something crazy. Like, the stats speak for themselves. I'm sure you're going to get into it because they're very fun to read.
Yeah,
they're very, very fun to read.
Did you see it in the article, or did I post it somewhere?
I was monitoring the whole game just because
Yeah.
When it's that historic, it's hard to just not be on natural stat trick all game and be like, oh, look at this. But anyway, they had their way with Chicago, who were on the second half of back-to-backs with their backup goaltender. They're a young team. I thought the Ducks were just sublime on the forecheck, just so disruptive. I thought they didn't spend much time in their zone, so they didn't defend a whole lot, but they were really efficient in their breakouts. And I think this is just what happens when a Chicago team that isn't designed to forecheck so hard as, Washington was, or like the Floridas of the world are. And, the Ducks defensemen have a little second to breathe and jump into rushes and things like that. The Ducks own the neutral zone and really just the cycle was relentless and nonstop. There were just endless sequences of high, low, and activating defenseman Leo Carlson was wreaking havoc up and down the zone, and Beckett Seneca again. Just we're seeing that kid flourish. I'm sure I'm going to get to him more later, but this was wall-to-wall domination, and it was a very enjoyable experience. Especially against a team like Chicago, who was a rival in the past and will be a rival in the future.
The game flow is just one team is on a different angle than the other. This is not one where there's flurries for either team. This is just a continual upward tick by the Ducks, and the Blackhawks just being a complete flat line. I'll get this out of the way because it is something that does need to be said. You said it already, but Blackhawks back into back-to-back. Blackhawks are one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They're even though they're standings-wise okay, their underlying numbers are not great. Having said all of that, that does not negate anything the Ducks did, because here are the numbers for this game. The Ducks put up 4.6 expected goals for over at 5-on-5. That's the highest total at 5-on-5 the Ducks have ever put up in the analytics era, which for those that don't know goes back to 07-08. That was the beginning of the analytics era. They also only allowed 0.54 expected goals against, which is the 7th best 5-on-5 total in the analytics era. And then in all situations, just to go to this, they put up 6.75 expected goals for in this game. So, Soderblom, allowed 7 goals. He was only slightly below replacement or below average, to put it that way. That is insane to think about. Once again, that expected goals total, though, is the highest they have ever put up in the analytics era. I think they only had one other game above 6, and that was in 2014. This is a type of offensive performance that they have not had ever. Since 07, let's go since 07-08. Because before that, we don't have expected goals numbers. The NHL didn't have the same data tracking that they do now where all the websites do it. So there's that. And then defensively, the Ducks allowed under 1 expected goal against in this game at 0.98. 7th best expected goals against total they've put up in the analytics era. So a historic game where, yes, this was a bad Blackhawks team from a underlying numbers perspective on a back-to-back. That does not negate, though, if that is what ends up resulting in these types of numbers, then there should be more numbers similar to this. The Ducks deserve a ton of credit for how they played. Offensively is, I think, what's going to get a lot of the play because of the 7 goals they scored. But I actually think defensively is where the focus needs to go a bit on this because of the breakouts, because of kind of what you said and what we talked about with the Utah game, where the Ducks really needed to shut it down a bit with Ville Husso and net. The fact that this is a guy that you just really can't rely on being more than a replacement level goalie, and you only allow 1 expected goal over the course of a game. That is how you win games, with a third string goalie in net. And so the 7 goals gets the headlines, but I think only the 1 goal against and the under 1 expected goal against is the actual headline that should be there, because if the Ducks are going to want to not repeat this type of result, but have repeatable success as the season goes on, the offense is not what should be looked at in this game, but it should be how they were so effective defensively.
Yeah, this one felt though that kind of feels like a situation where the best defense is a good offense.
Sure. But still, the breakouts, all that type of stuff like that,
yes.
that you end up not being in your zone, and that is what this Ducks team kind of needs to do a bit more.
And every attempt to the slot was batted away or defended really well, especially, shout out Jackson Lacombe, who we've kind of gotten on a little bit in that area of the ice. He shut it down immensely and, really tied up guys and defend, active sticks, and got on pucks, and they blocked a lot of shots. So if you look at the heat map of shots, there's a big white area in front of the crease, which is, you're going to win a lot of hockey games if you keep that area, completely, clear and free.
Yep, exactly. All right. Anything else on this game? It's weird because I don't have a lot to actually say outside of just the numbers, because it's just it's weird. I think when they play horrible, it's easy to just focus on okay, this wasn't as bad. Or when they play this great, it's kind of easy to just say, okay, here are the numbers. They were amazing. It's the in-between where you end up having more to say, but I don't have a whole lot to actually say about this game.
Well, no, I wrote about it, as I do with every game, and
Go check it out, people.
Yeah, it was one of those where I was like, I don't really have a lot to say because you can basically just watch a highlight package. But also every forward, every player was like doing what they do best, and it was all like positive. Like Frank Vetrano was forechecking and being tenacious in front of the net, and Beckett Seneca was flying through the neutral zone and winning board battles and net front battles. Leo Carlsson was, rushing up the ice. So was Troy Terry. And it's just everyone was doing what they are paid to do. And, I was like, I guess I'll shout out Ross Johnston because he had that. Did he have a goal? I can't remember.
The goal was
he had a goal in the Caps game, but he had a lot of good plays in the offensive zone in this game as well. So it was like, I don't know, everyone was just firing on all cylinders offensively. So it's hard to have many takeaways other than that.
Yep. All right. Want to jump into good, bad, open ice?
I do. Yes.
All right. You want to go first with your good?
Yeah. So Ryan Strome was healthy scratched for 2 games in a row. Zach reported that because Zach stays after sometimes, and so does Derek after morning skate to just like see what's going on and maybe watch the other team's morning skate. And Strome was getting bag skated. He broke his stick on the goal post because he was frustrated because he wasn't playing, which is understandable. But his response when he did get in, we talked to him the day before or the morning before the Caps game, and his response was really smart and well thought out. And he was basically saying like, anyone who's a competitor, they want to play, and you'll ever find a guy who's happy with a healthy scratch. I have it here. He said he has a wealth of experience to draw on, some highs, lows in his career. So just roll with the punches, work hard. It basically was saying that, everything is team first. And, he was unfortunately an example of that. And, that the whole team is in a good mindset, and it's important that they have a good attitude and support each other when they're not playing because, it's the team first and it's the way it should be. So yeah. I was really happy with the way that he responded, both on and off the ice, and had a good attitude. And I feel like we saw that with Pavel Mintyukov as well. So the responses to these healthy scratches, and that's a good problem to have when if you have a team deep enough to scratch veterans like this or talented young players, then that's kind of a good thing, I guess. So I liked his response. Yeah,
I agreed. I think also his response in his play was really good. 2 games he played, put up 8. Like, yes, the Chicago game is going to skew things, obviously. But 80% expected goal share. That's first on the team for the week. Like, he was very good in both games, I thought. I think he's been one of the better forwards. I think the game in Chicago was probably his worst game and then got scratched after that. So I think it was a bit of a bummer from that side of it. But I think he's been very good. I will continue to extol the Ryan Strome virtues, which I did not expect myself to say going into this season. But Strome has been good. I think Strome is like settled in on being a very good third line center for this team.
He's kind of the vocal leader of the locker room, I would say, and it just bleeds over to the ice, and his play's been pretty good since coming back from injury, so it's been nice to see, and I think he just gets a little more hate than than is deserved.
Yep. All right, my goods are kind of they're quick, so I'll layer a couple of them in, and then I'll let you go. Chicago game, we already touched on it.
Yeah.
So there's that. Zellweger, I thought, has been very, very good. And then also the entire top 6 was very good over this week, largely just due to the Chicago game. Like, that's the hard part with looking at numbers for this week, is that Chicago game is going to skew so much for it. But overall, I thought, like, targeting the top 6 in Zellweger, they were all very good this week.
I thought, you nailed it.
I got one more if you've got, but you go ahead and I'll end with one, or you can do however much you want here.
You go, and then I'll end on mine.
Okay. Also good. Ville Husso against the Capitals. I thought against the Capitals, Ville Husso was very good for the Ducks. I thought he helped keep them in games at various points in time with some of the chances that the Capitals were getting. I thought after having a very rough performance against Utah, or not very rough, but not what the Ducks necessarily need in that moment, I thought he played much better against the Capitals. Wasn't tested in Chicago or against the Blackhawks at all. Wasn't really needed that much, although there was a breakaway at one point in time that I think he had a nice play on. But Ville Husso is a good, and get to him also a bit later.
Also, just say poor Slava Butajec. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that's a tough situation to come into. You know, he was
Yes.
in the ECHL like a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
now he's playing in the NHL against one of the most like high potent offensive teams in the league. And it's just he gave us some tough goals, but that's kind of expected. That was just a tough situation to be in.
Yep. All right.
My last good. Okay. So there was a player who was, ranked ninth in the draft by Elite Prospects, ranked 16 in the draft by FC Hockey, ranked 11th by Craig Button, 14th by McKean's, 11th by Bob McKenzie, 13th by NHL Central Scouting as far as North American skaters. And the Ducks selected him third overall in 2024 to the surprise of himself and everyone else. And this kid is doing everything that his name is Beckett Seneca, by the way. He is doing everything that he did at the junior level to make him a dominant player, and the things that he flashed at that level are now translating. He is the rookie leader in goals and points, and he has, I think, 4 points in his last 2 games. He had that long point streak, and he's driving that line unequivocally.
Yes.
And it's so impressive to watch his progression from the start of the season, preseason, to now, where he is pretty much having his way. Like the Mohawk he put on, who was McMichael, that set up the Gauthier goal in the Caps game, and then obviously his end-to-end rush in the Hawks game was just so impressive to watch, and just the things that he can do at such a young age is so encouraging to what he can be long term.
Yeah, I feel like we say it every week, but the development that he's showing week by week is insane. Like, he started out the season being one of the worst defensive players in the league, probably, if I were to have to go back and kind of look at it after the first maybe 10 games of the year. Like, I remember looking at the Rapham chart, and you had to adjust the axis to be able to see his defensive metrics, and they've now gone up where he's only like -1 or -2, which is just shows kind of the progress. Yes, still not great defensively from the overall numbers perspective, but I would imagine if there was like a trend line, it's going up significantly for him overall. And I think that's just the development in his game, and it's been fascinating to watch, to go from a player that I thought probably didn't deserve, shouldn't be on the NHL roster, to now being someone that is completely locked into the top 6. Like, first off, I was wrong, which happens. And second off, he's developed and become so much better. And I think that is a huge credit to him, a huge credit to the coaching staff as well.
You just admitted you were wrong, which is something that not a lot of people can do, especially the ones who had very negative opinions on draft night, that this was a reach. And, egg on all their faces, a plague on both their houses. I thought,
Wow.
that the kid is producing and showing everyone he earned that third overall pick, and we're seeing the fruits. So good for him.
Yep. All right. Want to get to bad?
Yeah, that's
all right.
fine.
I will
after that whole thing. Yeah.
I will go. Do you want me to hit all of my bads real quick and then you go? All right. So 3 of these are going to be kind of quick, but looking at the numbers for the week, I feel like it's just necessary to state this. If there were guys underneath 50% expected goal share with that Chicago game, I think it's something that needs to be stated as a bad, just because if you are playing that well in one game, and like the numbers for that single game are so insane that if you are under 50%, that just shows kind of how bad you were in the other game. So the 4 players are Granlund, Johnston, Hellison, Minchikov. Those are the 4 players that were under 50%. Does that track with kind of what you saw in the other games?
So it's like what, like the guys on the 4th line ish?
Yeah,
and,
I mean
and
the Hellison
third
Minchikov
pair.
The Hellison Minchikov pairing.
I didn't see a lot of mistakes from that third pair, especially, but I guess
And there was just the noticeable goal, I think, where Minchikov makes the bad play on the puck against the Capitals. And
okay. Yeah, Hellison got drawn up a little too high. Minchikov got outnumbered down low, and Minchikov couldn't clear that puck. Sure. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It checks out, but I think that all kind of it evens out.
Yeah. And then bad also is Ville Husso against. So I had him as a good and a bad.
Yeah.
Against Utah, he was bad. Like, no other way around it. All right. Then this is my bigger bad. This isn't necessarily because of either of these last two games. The Utah game maybe a bit more. Is there a bit of a concern with Mason McTavish, though? And this comes because I was looking up some numbers. I was just kind of looking at charts for different players, as I do from time to time. And noticed McTavish's defensive metrics have just, like, cratered. And then it got me kind of looking a bit more at some of the numbers on Evolving Hockey to where he is one of the worst defensive players in the league from a goals above replacement perspective and a RAPM perspective on Evolving Hockey. And this is now multiple seasons in a row, right, where he's had some poor defensive metrics. Like, Felix and I talked about it. We did a Patreon episode last night, but is there a bit of a concern with Mason McTavish where, not saying that he needs to be dealt, but is that maybe a player that you might think about moving a bit more?
This was one of my bads as well, his defensive metrics. So I'm glad that you touched on it because I think we had an interesting conversation in Discord, I believe, about it, where his first 2 years in the league, McTavish, you could point to several instances where he lost his man in coverage or he got burned in X, Y, and Z situation. In the last 2 years, I am not seeing those mistakes, like those blatant big mistakes, especially in the defensive zone. So I'm at a loss almost of like why his numbers are so poor, because I'm not denying the numbers and I'm not saying that they aren't indicative of his play, because there's clearly something behind them and I do believe in them, but I'm just having a tough time really pinpointing where and how these results kind of stem from, because when you watch him like in the defensive zone, he's not out of position. He's not letting guys beat him out of corners and things like that. So maybe it's the way he forechecks, the way he backchecks, his neutral zone play. He maybe gives up too many rush chances. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But the numbers are concerning. I'm just having a tough time pinpointing why, which is like my biggest thing when I look at numbers. I'm like, why are they so bad?
Well, and you want to match it to your eye test, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I'm not discounting either. It's like I'm unclear why, but they're clearly there. And I'm honestly at a loss. And I think it's obviously too early to pull the plug. And he's obviously a heart and soul player, on paper. So you want that guy around, especially when it comes playoff time.
Agreed.
But I think some digging has to be done to get to the bottom of the poor numbers. And
and my gut feel on that, without having done a deep dive on his play, and this is, if Felix ends up listening to this is me telling him to go do a McTavish shift breakdown from one of the games and maybe help that out from that side of it. But I almost feel in some ways it's not his defensive zone coverage necessarily, although he does still have some flaws in there. I think it is the way that he can sometimes give away the puck in the neutral zone or be caught up in the ice in a bad spot. I know you and I disagreed a little bit on this, but I think there was a goal against Utah where I think it was the fourth goal, or I don't remember. It was
the fourth goal, yeah.
Like a lot of passing plays, things like that. But Beckett Seneca chases the guy behind the net for Utah, and he ends up trying to forecheck on him. And that means that there are two guys high, and Beckett Seneca still beats him back into the defensive zone. And he's kind of coasting and gliding from about the red line in. And it's those types of plays where I feel like those end up resulting in the high danger chances against on the rush against. And that's probably where these numbers are kind of coming from. And so it's about how he kind of transitions defensively and what he does with the pucks, also transitioning offensively, that leads to these chances. And that's my gut feel on it. Could be proven wrong though.
Yeah, and you want Mason McTavish low in the zone and to have an impact around the puck, but maybe it's like a foot speed thing where he doesn't have the foot speed to get back and kind of recover from those situations, and maybe he needs to kind of readjust how he engages and approaches those situations, something like that.
All right, hit me with your bads.
So that was my big one.
Okay.
And my other one, we talked about it, but it was the reaction to the Trouba hit, especially like within the fan bases and discourse in general. Because I'm not going to get into the whole conversation again, but the keep your head up crowd, you got to keep your head up, young guy crowd, like that gets frustrating. But the other side kind of gets frustrating too, where it's it doesn't get frustrated. It's the Caps fan. I don't want to attack Caps fans, but like if any player on any team had a player go through what Ryan Leonard went through and gets knocked out of the game like that, anyone would be upset. So not understanding that aspect of it is just kind of drives me nuts within the hockey Twitter discourse in general.
You're telling me you're telling me there was not a rational discussion about a hit on hockey Twitter?
There was not.
I'm shocked. No, I get it. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. This is in some ways why I think our Discord has a little bit of a closer knit. It's a smaller group of people where you can have a more nuanced discussion.
Yeah.
And so I think that for those types of hit, that type of stuff, that is more so where those types of things happen. By the way, subtle plug, go check out our Patreon page, or go check out the Crash Spawn Patreon, patreon.com/Crash Spawn. You can access the Discord. And like Patrick said, we have discussions in there. So you can see us having these types of discussions, figuring it out in there. But yeah. All right. Was that your only other bad?
It's so hard to come up with a bad because everything seemed to be fixed in the Chicago game, but it's like the same old things that we talk about every week. So I don't want to like rehash, but it's net front coverage, and especially the Caps game where they had a game plan to work pucks, low to high and get point shots, and then like get those flank guys from the corner to the net because they knew that the Ducks were going to have a tough time kind of picking them up, and they were able to pounce on rebounds and whatnot. So like definitely that aspect, net front coverage was, and neutral zone pinches, things that, keep happening again and again. And I guess my bad would be the inability to fix those situations outside, obviously, of the Chicago game. So we'll see if it continues.
I mean, it's going to be really fascinating as they go on this road trip, right? Like they're playing some decent teams on this road trip. How do they basically take the lessons that they learned from the Chicago game from a good way and implement that? Or is this just going to be a bit of a flash in the pan game? I think that is now the fascinating part from this, of you have this high. Can you kind of ride that high and continue that play? Or is it just a one-off?
Yeah.
All right. Open ice time. I'm going to hit you with all of mine are fun. This one is somewhat difficult, but the first one I've got is, so the Ducks are currently 6 points clear of the playoff cut line. They're first in the Pacific, 6 points away from the last team out. So let's kind of play this out a little bit. How many points clear do you think they need to become the Olympic break? I feel like the Olympic break's a good cutoff point, right? Where you can kind of start, I think, at that point saying, all right, these teams are locks in the playoffs at this point, and they're not going to fall out. How many points clear by the Olympic break? I think there's probably, 20 games left after that? Where would the Ducks need to be for you to call them a lock in terms of clearance from where they're at to the playoff cut line?
10, I think, would be a good number. Just because from the cut line, 10. We're over halfway to that mark right now. So yeah.
That's kind of my gut.
10 points.
That's kind of my gut feel as well. And then also looking at the standings right now, who do you think are absolute locks?
Okay, let's pull up the standings.
I think the West is.
Oh boy,
I think the West is. There's two teams that are absolute locks at this point.
The locks, the mathematical locks are Colorado and Dallas.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at here.
The smart money still is on Vegas. Obviously, Edmonton.
Yeah,
they're white hot right now as well. So I think those are your four.
Yeah, I'm more so kind of looking mathematically, just because talking about the Ducks and where they need to be. I think you can easily say the amount of points between. Dallas has 14 points. Colorado has 17 points between them and the playoff cut line. I think you can wrap it up and say they're locks for the playoffs at this point in time, 30 games into the season, mathematically.
Yeah, I think they're at the point where the goal is to get to a point where you can just be NHL 500 for the rest of the season and still make the playoffs, and they might already be there.
They may be able to be worse than NHL 500 and make the playoffs. Like, it's insane. In the East, do you think there's anyone that is currently a kind of mathematical lock in some ways? I'm looking at it right now.
They're so tight.
It. Yeah.
No, because it's 6 points separates the top seed from out of the playoffs right now.
Yep.
So, which is Washington, and out of the playoffs. First team out of the playoffs right now is Philadelphia at 33 points. Washington has 39. I wouldn't say there's a mathematical lock within that group. The two emotional actual locks might be Washington and Carolina, I would say.
Yep. I think Tampa maybe, but it's so tight. Maybe not. I don't know.
Injuries too. I don't know what their injury situation's like, but yeah.
Yeah. Although looking at it, there's not very many Atlantic teams. God, wow. Toronto is way out of it at this point. I have not looked at the East standings at all. I don't look at the standings that much in general.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Wow. That's surprising. All right.
Yeah, Toronto's way down there, but they're only 2 points out of the playoffs.
Yeah. I think it's more so just the scroll down was like.
Yeah. It's shocking to see that.
Yeah. All right. What are your open ice? I got two more after this also. So
Jake, honestly, I don't have any good ones, but I will. Do I do this? We're running a little close to an hour, so I'm gonna pass. We're gonna save mine for when we have less to talk about.
I am very much a jersey person, as everyone knows listening to this, and why I bring up jerseys a lot in open ice because it's a fun thing to bring up. So first off, just as a fun thing for everyone out there, I saw this today. Blackhawks Rangers are going to do color on color in a couple of days, I think, December 10th. Great idea.
Beautiful.
Really, really love that. Now here's the controversial one and the fun one. Did you see the report today that the Colorado Avalanche have requested from the league that they should be allowed to, or that they want to wear their Nordiques jersey in Montreal in January?
I love that.
What do you think of that?
I love that. I think they totally should. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm not a purist in the sense that I don't think the Wild should wear the North Star, or the Wild shouldn't wear the North Star's colors. Like I don't mind that they would or would want to. I love the idea of having the Nordiques wear their Nordiques jerseys the Avs wearing their Nordiques jerseys in Montreal. That would be so epic. And just to see those two jerseys on the ice together against each other, it would it just spark some weird hockey nostalgia for me. Yeah, that I never really got to witness because we were so young when the Nordiques were even a thing. But that'd be so cool.
Yeah. I'm of two minds. I don't mind, actually. I know there's a lot of people that are upset that the Avalanche wear those jerseys. I have zero issues with them doing that. Zero issues with the Hurricanes wearing the Whalers jerseys, that type of stuff. I guess my only thing here is I feel like this is it's like I'm of two minds. I think you're right that I think it would be fantastic. I think it's going to bring back this nostalgia feel of having the Nordiques versus the Canadians at the Bell Center. There is going to be some of that, but part of me also can't hide the fact that this is feels like a bit of stolen valor in some ways, because it is rubbing it in the face of Nordiques fans that this is this is your big rivalry. This is, and we're going to wear these jerseys again, even though you no longer have this franchise. So I usually don't mind the Avalanche wearing the Nordiques jersey. This to me is the only one where I look at it, I'm like, ugh, cringy a little bit, but I also think it's going to be fantastic.
I didn't think about it from a Nordiques fan perspective. Maybe a fan in Phoenix wouldn't be too thrilled seeing the Mammoth wear a Kachina jersey against the Golden Knights or something. Maybe they wouldn't be too happy with that either. But I don't know. I think for the greater good, I want to see it.
I think it's a bit different in that case also, because you're close to those, you're in the close area, whereas the Avalanche are just in a completely different area. So it's just you're going back and doing this for the complete purpose. Felix has chimed in the YouTube chat saying he hates it as a Canadians fan. So I hope it goes through. I think just in general, as someone that does enjoy chaos a little bit, I feel like the online discourse about it will actually be hilarious and just be pure chaos, and it will be fun to watch. It's going to be like watching a fire, basically. You just sit there and watch it happen. So, all right. That is it for my good, bad, open ice. So, want to get some questions?
Yes, please.
All right, so we're gonna start with the Patreon Discord. Go to patreon.com/crashspawn. So we got a couple in here. Good friend Lewis said, "Do you guys think that the Ducks will continue being a Jekyll and Hyde team, or do you think they'll eventually tighten up defensively?"
Oh, Lewis, the age-old question. It's such a tough situation because we've seen them tighten things up before. I can't pick out individual games, but I feel like there was a 4-1 Jets game or something like that, and then obviously this Blackhawks game, or the Blues game was a good one where we've seen them tighten up. So they have the ability to. We just need to see it on a more consistent basis. So that is the Jekyll and Hyde that he's probably referring to.
Yes.
You would think with the coaching staff that we all think that they can be, that they have been, that is employed by the team, that they will be able to clean this up at some point. But now we're getting to like the 30-game mark, 40-game mark. Like,
I think this is just kind of who they are.
This is kind of who they are. They're just super volatile, and they're just going to live and die by this high event, which is fun, but it's also like not sustainable probably, and probably won't work in a playoff setting. So at some point, obviously, they're going to have to tighten up, and I think they can at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I think the reason why they're so Jekyll and Hyde is that the top six is the Jekyll and Hyde. They are the good, great offensively, poor defensively part of this, and it's 4 young players, 1 prime age player, 1 old player in there. And so I just don't necessarily know if those guys are going to be able to pick that up this quickly and make those changes to become this defensively stout players. So I think that with young players, you kind of get up and down performances. And so I think that this is just kind of who they're going to be for the rest of the season.
And that's the same thing on the back end as well. I mean, Lacombe, Hellison, Minchikov, all have had up and down performances. Zellweger has been very even keel this entire season, but that's definitely an aspect. But at the good side is like those younger players, the more volatile players, they have the most room to grow, and like theoretically they're the guys that will improve and get to those points that they need them to be at defensively.
All right. Our good friend Derek Lee, your compatriot at the Hockey News, said, "It's very wishful thinking, but what would a hypothetical Ducks deal for Quinn Hughes look like?"
First of all, never happening. I'm very confident saying that will never ever happen.
He's going to the Devils.
He's going to the East Coast at least, just to be like closer to the family and everything. It would cost probably 2 firsts, a young, good roster player, and an A prospect.
So this was what I cooked up. Because we had a similar question. We did the Patreon episode, and we're talking about this yesterday. And if the Ducks should go after Quinn Hughes, and the answer is if he would be willing to sign an extension in Anaheim, he's one of the top 2 defensemen in the league. Like, yes. Yeah. And we were talking about this. Where would he rank on the Ducks defenseman chart in terms of historically? All time.
Well, in theory, if you're signing him for an 8-year extension, he's gonna be here longer than the Niedermeyers and Prongers. So he'd be, if he lifts a cup, easily number 1. Even if he doesn't and still maintains this level of play, number 1. Yeah, he'd be the best defenseman in Ducks history. Franchise-altering
talent, basically, is what Quinn Hughes is. But having said that, the trade would be this is part of a bigger discussion, but I was thinking Mason McTavish, Pavel Minchikov, Stian Solberg, and a first-round pick.
Yeah, I think that would all equate to kind of what I said.
Similar to what you said.
Similar. It depends if they want the player or the pick as far as the Solberg versus a 1. But I think you said Minchikov and McTavish.
So get kind of younger, established NHL high picks, plus kind of non-proven, so similar type thing.
Yeah, I think you do that. I think that would be the package. Whether either would accept, who knows? But yeah, definitely whenever we talk about these kind of trades, by the way, I want to reiterate that everything is with the qualifier that comes with an extension. Yes. Because no one's trading. We wouldn't endorse a trade for Quinn Hughes sans extension.
Correct.
With the uncertainty of the future.
Correct. Ducks Juggernaut said, given the results this season so far, do you think there's an appetite from Pat Verbeek to continue exploring roster upgrades, or do you think he's content to let the current team ride until the deadline and reevaluate then?
So for what Pat Verbeek wants, based on reports we've heard from every insider imaginable that has any sort of sources, a big splash is what Pat Verbeek wants. So I think that the appetite is definitely there from Verbeek to add a big fish, because he's tried before and then you try again.
I think it's going to be interesting because I think you look at what Pat Verbeek's done as the general manager of this team, and I don't think he's really made a big splash signing, a big splash trade. Like, this would be the first one.
He's tried.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's why it's like the appetite, in my opinion, is still there because he's tried in the past. It just hasn't worked, whether it's reports of being interested in Alex DeBrincat. Obviously last summer with Marchessault and Stamkos. And, while it might be in, like, for us in our positions, maybe a more wait and see approach, it feels like Verbeek is still looking for an opportunity to add a big player.
Well, kind of what I'm getting at with that is that it's going to be interesting to see, kind of, especially if a trade happens, how that trade comes together. What are the parts going out? Because we have not really seen how he evaluates these types of situations, because Chris Kreider is not a big fish. Jacob Trouba is not getting a big fish. Gauthier for Drysdale is a great trade, but that is not going out and getting a big fish in this situation. Like, we have not seen him execute this, and so I think it's going to be interesting to see when he does it. How does it shape up? Does he give up more? Does he not give up enough? Or does it never happen because he's too dead set on not wanting to give up too much? And I've started to really kind of make the argument that if you're really trying to improve this team, the Ducks are in the spot where you kind of are in a spot to overpay for a guy if he helps your team.
If it's what it takes, and it's like one of the final pieces to building a consistent contender, that piece that can be with the team for throughout their cup window, then that's a player, that you are okay kind of overpaying for to add to your team, and you have the assets, obviously. So
Yep. All right. Contra said, would love to hear both of your thoughts on the overall approach by the coaching staff this year. It seems like they are gradually adding / improving different aspects of the team's play and approach over time. As someone who's never played ice hockey, though, and he's in Australia, I feel like a lot of the nuance is lost on me. How are you seeing things in the team's play evolve? What do you think they've done well? Where do you think they should focus for the next 10 to 20 games? I can imagine part of the challenge being unlearning Cronin-era playstyle habits and just the limited amount of time between games too in a condensed schedule. Feel free to touch on that too. Love your work, guys.
Well, thank you for the nice words.
Yes.
Both their thoughts on the overall approach. So I think I believe in what they're trying to accomplish. I think the systems that they've implemented are more fitting to the roster than what Greg Cronin had tried to implement, the square peg round hole theory. I think this kind of defensive system where they kind of are, in theory, trying to protect the middle and then get out on the rush when the opportunity presents itself, a puck possession team. So I believe in the system, and I believe in what they're trying to do. I think some of the in-game line juggling is interesting. I haven't determined if I like it or not, but I think it's interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
And let's see, what else was it? Oh, in the next 10 to 20 games, the things they need to work on are, we've talked about it, the net front defense. Like when pucks go low to high, the weak side defenseman needs to pick up his guy in front of the net, and the center needs to either commit to, challenging if there's a high forward also in that situation, or stay low and help out their defenseman, things like that. Like those little things make the difference, and we saw it make the difference in the Caps game. I thought the Caps, all 3 goals were scored on situations like that where they exploited the Ducks' kind of missteps in those situations. So that's my biggest area of concern, is the net front, because as I asked Joe Quenneville after the Caps game, you won the net front battle a lot. All your goals were scored around that area too. And it's like, yeah, that's where paychecks come from, where games are won.
Yeah. I think from my side of it, kind of globally zooming out slightly, I think this is kind of what you want from the team. And this is probably, honestly, I've said this a few times now, I feel like this season's a bit of an indictment on Greg Cronin. And in some ways, how Pat Verbeek originally had thought about this team, because I think how they're playing this season is how they should have been playing the last 2 years. Of you kind of open it up, you let the young guys go, you let them play offense, you worry about the defense later, and you kind of go that route. And you bring in, if Joel Quenneville is not able to implement the defensive systems, you then bring in kind of the more defensive coach as you now have the offensive talent, and you bring in the defensive coach to tighten things up. And it almost feels like the Ducks kind of went in reverse on that, and that this is like it. This is how they should have had a development type season with this current core that's going through. And so overall, system wise, I think this is what you want to see. You want to see them going out and playing. I think you live with the bit of the mistakes and hope that over time they're able to learn to play a bit better. Maybe it won't happen this year, but I think that the young players can learn to be a bit better defensively.
Yeah, as much as
in the future.
Yeah, as much as we get on him for making the same continuous mistakes, like I would much rather have this happen than the last 2 seasons where they were just a black hole offensively and couldn't, generate anything because of the system they were playing. Like, I'll take this all day. You'd rather, I forget what the phrase is, but you'd rather like tame a wild horse than try to motivate a donkey or whatever. I forget how it goes, but yes, that's kind of the theory here, is that, you let them kind of explore their offensive reaches and then rein them in when you need it after they've kind of learned that side of the game. I think that's a better approach to building this team from where they are. And I understand, to an extent, I understand what Pat Verbeek was doing with the Cronin hire and how they wanted to play, because that was what was successful with teams like Colorado and Tampa and Florida now, but it just didn't fit the roster that he was building. So that's just how it is.
Yep. All right. We're going to get to questions from Twitch and YouTube. So for those of you watching on your favorite podcast services, you can find us live whenever we are doing this podcast. You can find out on Twitter when I put it out there when we're going to go live. But you can find us at twitch.tv/crashthepond. You can subscribe to us there. I did see Betting555 gave out 5 gifted subs, so thank you so much for doing that. I know you've been a sub for us for a while, so thank you so much for doing that, and I know the community probably enjoys that as they've gotten those gifted subs. But you can check us out there. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free subscription every month. You do have to hit it after 30 days. You can also find us at youtube.com/crashthepond. And yes, I know everyone listening to this has a YouTube account. We all watch YouTube videos. It's what we all do now. But go check out our videos there. Like and subscribe to the channel. Even if you are listening on the audio form, go subscribe to the channel. It does help out more than you can imagine. So, Ducks Alright has a question. Between the young Ducks core, how many do you think will be a top 50 player at some point in their career?
50 is tough.
50, I think Carlson.
I think Gauthier will be an elite goal scorer if he isn't already. So I don't know if you count that as a top 50 player.
That's the question, because essentially this is like top player on the team plus a few.
Yeah.
And that includes defensemen and things like that. Do you think any of the defensemen will be top 50?
I don't.
I don't either.
I don't think any of the defensemen. Maybe Dostal.
Ooh, Dostal might already be.
Yeah. Depends how you weigh goaltending, but yeah, I think. I mean, we're seeing what the team looks like without him, so I think that could be another. So maybe just those two, Carlson and Dostal.
Do you think Seneca can get there?
It's tough. It's tough. Obviously, it's tough also for a winger because he doesn't have as much impact, stride to stride as a center or a defenseman. He has a talent. Felix has said he's the most talented Duck on the team and maybe ever. He has the talent too. And if he continues this, he's proven so many wrong before. I'm not going to bet against him. Yeah. So yeah, I think he can.
All right. Zaprick said, thoughts on the current fourth line makeup. So question: which line is technically the fourth line? Is it the Paling line or is it the Strome line?
I'm not sure.
I'm not either.
And honestly, I don't know if I care so much because it seems like Quenneville's kind of rotating.
Yeah.
He's just rolling lines. Like there's a clear top six and bottom six. I'm not sure I would designate any first line, second line, third line, or fourth line traditionally, which is kind of how I like the rotation to be, I guess. I would say whatever line Johnston's on is the fourth line.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think it's fine. I still would prefer not having Ross Johnston out there, but I think the bottom six in general, they've actually been good defensively for the most part. Mm-hmm. Like it's the exact opposite in some ways in comparison to the top six of they're somewhat poor offensively, but good defensively. And so it's a bit of a contrast there. So I think they've been fine though. Like maybe you want a little bit more offensive pop, but I think fine.
It's tough to expect too much from a fourth line.
Yeah.
Like as far as fourth lines go, on paper, if you have Mikael Granlund on your fourth line, that's a damn good fourth line.
True.
And I'll take that all day. Like just comparing it to any other fourth line in the league. So I'm okay with the makeup. Yeah, with that fourth line and third line. Same thing applies.
Let's see. Ducks Alright said, question: if the Ducks make it in the playoffs, who is your ideal first round matchup?
Ooh, interesting. It's so tough because I don't know who would be in the playoffs. I would like Chicago. No. Of the teams we expect to be there, I think Winnipeg, is the most vulnerable. I think we don't know what kind of Hellebuck we're going to get, and I don't necessarily believe in their depth. I think past their first line, I question how they are going to score goals when that line gets shut down. And then defensively, they play a good system, but I don't see any like standout defensemen. Morrissey's good. I'm not saying Morrissey isn't good, but like truly game-breaking standout defenseman. I don't see it.
I think Winnipeg had good numbers last year, but they have really fallen off this year. So I think that's a good shout. I think from an entertainment perspective, I think LA would be fascinating to see again because I think the Ducks played solid enough against them against Black Friday. It wasn't great, but like I think that would be interesting to see how they would go against a great defensive team. We haven't seen the Ducks actually play Edmonton so far this year. Mm-hmm. I think that could be interesting with how Edmonton can be somewhat leaky defensively. And I think that just from an enjoyment perspective, and I think the Ducks could do well against Edmonton. Granted, we haven't seen them, so who knows? But I think that is actually a matchup the Ducks could exploit with Edmonton being a bit more open. And granted, you have McDavid and Draisaitl coming the other way, but you have Dostal and net. Like I think that could be a really fascinating matchup and one the Ducks could do well in, actually.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Ducks Alright said, does Patrick know how many prospects the Ducks have represented in the World Juniors this year?
I know that the goaltender Elijah N is going to represent Switzerland, and Eric Nilsson and Lucas Pettersson are going to represent Sweden. I think that's all that's been announced.
Okay.
Finland hasn't announced, I don't believe, but I think there's a good chance that their second round pick from this 2025 draft, Lassi Boelius, can represent Finland. And I think that would be it, those four.
Okay. Let's say, I think we have like 3 or 4 more questions. Let's through them, and then we'll get on out of here. Throllock said, if you could introduce a fifth forward line right now solely made of Ducks prospects, who would you bring up from the AHL/elsewhere and why? I think it would be Colangelo and Nestorenko as 2 of the wings, right?
Yes. It would be Colangelo, Nestorenko, and Tim Washi. Washi's having a really good year in San Diego right now.
That is a player that I had not thought about in a hot minute. I had honestly kind of forgotten about him because I was going to say Gaucher. So, good pull.
Yeah, Tim Washi's having a really good year. I really personally like Lucas Pettersson. I would like to see him. He's playing. He was playing on a line with Jacob Silverberg and Nicholas Backstrom, which is amazing.
Ooh.
Right? So I would like to see him. He's got some pro experience. I'm enjoying watching his progression.
Power Pop Jeff also says Uljanskis will likely play for Latvia.
Yeah, that's a good shout too. I forgot they haven't announced. I don't believe either.
92 Mendoza said, what effect would the league doing standing solely on wins rather than 2 points wins and overtime losses have? So kind of only going off of wins. I mean, it would have a distinct impact. I mean, looking at it right now, if you sort just based on wins, let's see. The Ducks have a distinct advantage where it feels like a lot of the games the Ducks have gone to overtime, they've won.
Yeah.
My issue with doing that is that overtime. I think that you could go with that if overtime was 5-on-5. I think if overtime was 5-on-5, then you're not distinctly changing the style of play or just changing the game, but the game could go on forever at that point in time. So I think for me, if you're gonna do it wins, I think you have to bring back, like, you either have to go 5-on-5 overtime or you have to go to ties, which then bring back points in the equation. Realistically, for me, a 3-2-1 system is the one that makes the most sense. You really put the priority on finishing games in regulation, 3 points for that, 2 points for an overtime win, because you are distinctly changing the style of play by going to 3-on-3. No one can really argue that 3-on-3 is not the same as 5-on-5. It in some ways is as much a skills competition as a shootout, and it's one that's distinctly favoring certain teams that might not be good regularly but are good in overtime. I mean, the Ducks, not talking about this year, but in years past, have been horrible regular season teams and horrible 5-on-5 teams, but have had the horses to be good 3-on-3 teams. And so it's just, I think a 3-2-1 system is about more fair, and teams are kind of going for that extra 1 point, and all games are then worth 3 points at the same time.
Yeah, I think we're all fans of the 3-2-1-0 system, and I would be all for that. Every game is worth 3 points.
Yep, exactly. Simon McLaren said, does Vetrano hit double-digit points this year?
Yes.
Where is he at points-wise? Let me see.
Okay.
Let's take a look, because I don't really look at points that much in general.
But I'll say I thought Frank had a very nice game, as did everybody.
Against the Blackhawks?
Against the Blackhawks, yes. But I think his game has been coming around, especially since Strome got healthy.
Yeah.
He was snake bitten and making some mistakes adjusting to the system as everyone did. But I think he's coming around, and I think he's kind of finding his little role within this setup, which, is very, very different than how he was utilized under Cronin. And he's not going to be the 60-point guy that he was in that time, but he still is going to be he's going to be a very useful player, though.
Yeah. He has 4 points so far this season in 29 games. I mean, even that pace puts him at double digits. So yes, he will get to double digit points this year. I would be floored if he does not. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Got through this one. Thank you as always, Patrick. Any parting thoughts?
I don't think so. That was fun. I got some stuff off my chest.
Yeah.
I always love talking hockey, period. But hopefully my thoughts got across clear.
Yes, they did. So with that being said, thank you as always for coming on. I think everyone is appreciating the insights that you are bringing to this as Felix is on his sabbatical and chiming in the YouTube chat as a result of that. So thank you so much for that. Everyone, please go check out Patrick over at the Hockey News. You can find him on Twitter at PatrickCPresent. You can find any of his post-game breakdowns of the games, really insightful stuff, kind of writing about the Ducks in a way that I don't think you will find anyone else writing about them, breaking down the system. So if you want to become a smarter Ducks fan, go check out Patrick's articles. You can also find my stuff, which has some dumb stuff in it, way more dumb stuff in it than Patrick's does, talking about songs of the game and rating Brian Hayward's fit, all sandwiched with some analytics talk. You can find all that at Crash the Pond, where it's a weekly article going over that stuff. You can also find me on Twitter at ReindeerGames91. You can find the Crash the Pond account at Crash the Pond. You can find Felix at Felix_Sicard. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Crash the Pond. That's the easiest way to support the show, keep the show going, keep the lights on for us. So with all of that being said, thank you all, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.
See ya. Thank you.